Welcome back to another Decrypting Happiness podcast. I know this one took a while, but honestly, I probably could have split this up into multiple episodes, but I didn't want to do that because this one's very different. This one is deeply personal, and it's something that I've been struggling with every single day, and it's peace within myself. And I needed to take my time with it because I'm still learning this as I go, and I'm going to be completely honest with you from the start. I do not have all the answers. I am not going to pretend that I know everything and I have it figured out, but I do know some things that help me in the middle of my battles, and I want to share those things with you. Now, in this podcast, you're going to hear some conflict. You are going to hear me go back and forth because that is real. There are two sides of me. There is a side that is hopeful, aware, growing, reaching. I call this the chosen state. And there's a side that defaults to sadness and numbness when things get too heavy. I call this side the default state. And I know both of these states and sides really well. So if you hear me shift between them, just know that it is intentional. It is the point, because this is what the battle looks like. This is what it feels like when your soul is trying to heal, but your old patterns are still trying to protect you. A lot of us are searching for happiness, but happiness is not the goal. Happiness is a temporary emotion. Even unhappy people can have happy moments. What we're actually looking for is peace. Peace is contentment. Peace is grounding. Peace is being present. Peace is learning how to breathe again inside your own mind. And peace requires submission, surrender, letting go of the need to control everything, letting go of the stories that we tell ourselves, because some of us have been telling ourselves the same lie for so long that we started believing it. The lie that we're not good enough, the lie that we do not deserve love, the lie that peace is something other people get but not us, the lie that something is wrong with us. At the core, those lies come from the default side, the part of us that was built in survival, the part that learned to shut down to protect itself. We are going to break that down today. We're going to talk about how peace is not something you find out there. It is something you uncover that's been inside you from the beginning. So take a breath, slow down, be present, and let's start this together. To start, we need a foundation. What makes you, you? Understanding consciousness and existence. When we talk about consciousness and what makes you, you, we are talking about something that's real inside you, something deeper than your body, deeper than your thoughts, deeper than your situation. There was a French philosopher named René Descartes who said, "I think, therefore I am." And what that means is the very fact that you are aware, the fact that you can notice your thoughts, the fact that you can question your own existence, proves that there is a real you inside. You are not just a name. You are not your mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are the awareness behind all of it. Now, think about emotions and pain. Pain is not the enemy. God uses pain to warn you. Pain is a signal. It tells you that something is wrong. It alerts you before damage is done. Without pain, you wouldn't survive. The same is true for emotional pain. Emotional pain tells you there's something in your soul that needs attention. Maybe you are hurt. Maybe you were ignored. Maybe you were trying to be strong when you really needed help. Pain is the alarm that says there is something inside that needs healing. So when sadness comes and anger comes, when anxiety comes, you can say, "I feel it," but you don't become it. You are not the emotion. You are the one who is aware of the emotion. This is the foundation of inner peace. You are the awareness, not the stress, not the fear, not the chaos, not the thought flying through your mind. When you sit down with your awareness and say, "I am here. I am real. I exist. God made me with purpose. God gave me consciousness. God gave me a soul that feels." Then peace is not something you chase. Peace is something that you return to. It has always been there, under the noise of the world, under the distraction, under fear, under pain. Peace begins the moment you stop running from what you feel. Awareness gives you the space to choose how you see it. The situation may not change, but the way you respond to it can. You are not the emotion. You are the one who notices it. And in that awareness, you find the power to breathe, to pause, and to choose peace. Now I want to talk about something that can make the battle even harder. Some of us are not just fighting our pasts or our thoughts. We are also fighting the way our brains are wired. For me, I have ADHD along with a few other things that affect how I think and feel. They do not disappear when I try to heal. They intensify the process. They add fuel to the fire. I tend to lock into thoughts and loop them in my mind until they feel deeper than they really are. ADHD can make healing harder because the mind learns to escape discomfort instead of sitting with it. The thoughts move fast. The emotions hit hard. I go to war in my mind against things that don't exist. I break my own heart over situations that never happen. I suffer in advance just to avoid being caught off guard. Healing needs stillness, reflection, and time, but the ADHD brain wants movement, stimulation, and constant change. So even when I learn something that helps me, it's hard for me to hold onto it when my emotional state shifts. This is not saying ADHD is fake. ADHD is real. Believe me, I know. But your nervous system can learn patterns as a response to your environment. Here's the idea. When a child grows up in stress, chaos, emotional neglect, pressure, or hurt, the mind looks for an escape. If the child cannot run away or fight, the mind will choose another option. Detach, drift, daydream, go inward. This is called disassociation. The mental escape can feel like zoning out, consistently shifting attention, hyper-focusing on something comforting, needing stimulation to feel safe or present. Over time, the brain learns this pattern as the default survival strategy. ADHD-like traits can develop because the mind was trained to escape discomfort. When escape was not physically possible, your brain said, I cannot change the situation, so I will change my awareness. Over many years, what began as a defense mechanism became a habit of how the mind operates. This does not mean ADHD equals trauma. Many people with ADHD do not have trauma. ADHD has generic factors, but for a large number of people, especially those with childhood emotional neglect, unstable home environments, becoming misunderstood or consistently corrected, being punished for expressing themselves, being forced to hide their feelings. So now your brain learned to leave the present moment when the present moment feels unsafe. And now as an adult, the brain continues to do it automatically, even when you are safe. And this is why you drift mentally when bored, you get overwhelmed easily, you struggle to stay in tasks that feel pointless, you chase stimulation, your focus is sharp only when something feels meaningful or emotionally intense. Your mind is not broken. Your nervous system is trying to protect you using the same strategy it used when you were younger. The healing comes from learning to stay with yourself during discomfort. You need to face it and process it to move on. Teaching your body that the present moment is safe now. Reel in the drift. Your brain learned to escape because it needed to. Now we can help the mind learn to stay because you deserve peace. Our environments shape how we think and how we see ourselves. And today, our environment is not just our home or childhood. It's the screen in your pocket. Social media became a physiological world of comparison. Your phone studies you. It feeds you what keeps you scrolling. Not what is true, not what is real, just to keep you distracted. And slowly, your attention becomes the product. Your worth becomes tied to what you see on the screen, and your peace gets buried under comparison. You cannot feel your purpose while drowning in comparison. Peace begins when you turn into yourself and decide to live your life instead of watching others live theirs. Understanding the difference between validation and confirmation. Validation is when you look into others to tell you that you are good enough. Validation says, please tell me I am okay. Please tell me I matter. Please tell me that I am doing the right thing. Validation is fueled by insecurity. It depends on someone else's reaction. And when you don't get the reaction, you feel empty again. Validation says your worth comes from outside of you. Confirmation is different. Confirmation is when the outside matches what God is already showing you in the inside. Confirmation says, I already know who I am. I already know what God is doing in me. I just need to see the fruit. Confirmation does not create your identity. It supports it. Validation asks others to define you. Confirmation simply reflects the truth God already placed in you. There are seasons where it feels like God is silent, where you pray and nothing moves. And in the silence, it is easy to believe that God does not care. But silence does not mean absence. Sometimes God is the loudest when everything else is quiet. Silence strips away distraction. It leaves you alone with yourself and the part of you that still knows He is there. The silence is not punishment. It is the invitation to trust. And yes, trusting in the silence is hard. Being patient is hard. Being faithful when you feel empty is hard. But God is the closest when you feel the most alone. He is working in ways you cannot see yet, strengthening you in ways that do not feel like strength just yet. I truly believe the silence is not the end of our stories. It's the chapter where God prepares you for what's coming next. So this next part is going to be a little different. I got set back recently. Some events happened that triggered these emotions and me to go back into my default state. And when I was in that state, I wanted to write how I felt, to describe the feelings and to show you the inner battle. So you got to see the other side of it. I want to show you what I was thinking in those moments. I thought I was doing well. I thought I moved forward. I thought that I had become a version of myself I had been working so hard to build. I even felt proud of myself. I tried to trust again, but they took advantage of me. I just wanted confirmation. I was not looking for validation. I want to know that I'm doing the right thing. I fell back into the familiar darkness, the heaviness, the numbness, the lack of motivation, the sense of being present but not fully there, smiling, responding, functioning, but empty in the center. I know the other version of me exists. The me that laughs, the me that is excited about tomorrow, the me that is connected and alive and fully present. But here I am again, two versions of myself wrestling for control. The darkness felt familiar, like I had returned to something I knew better than peace. Like the sadness was home. I know how to live in the dark. I know how to be numb. I know how to hide the pain. I know how to stand back up and pretend everything is fine. And the thing is, when I'm in this place, something happens. I want to help others. I feel like I do not know how to take care of myself, but I do know how to take care of them. I can lift them, I can guide them, speak life into them, show them love that I cannot seem to give myself. And then I tell myself, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe it's better that I stay down here, because if I expect nothing, nothing can hurt me. If I ask for nothing, nothing can be taken away from me. If I stay low, I cannot fall. Then I look at my children. I see their whole lives ahead of them. I see the innocence, the freedom, the possibility, and I say to myself, I will carry the damage. I will break the cycle. I will make sure they never end up like this. If someone had to feel the pain so they don't have to, then I am glad it was me. And then I think about Jesus. He took the weight of the world so others would not have to. And I tell myself, this is my cross. But here is the truth. Jesus carried the weight so I would not have to keep carrying mine. Pain is not my identity. My wounds are not my name. My past is not my destiny. But still, when I'm at my lowest, the climb is really hard. But I don't do it for myself. I do it for the ones that I love. I do it for the ones that depend on me, for my family, for the community I care about, for the people I refuse to let fall. Because when my child looks at me and says, "Daddy, are you okay?" and I say, "Yeah, I'm just tired," I feel the lie in my chest. And that makes the weight even heavier. So I smile, I speak gently, and I act strong. Not because I'm a fake, but because I love them so much, I do not want the darkness to spill into their world. But that's exactly where the enemy wants me. Alone while I'm surrounded. Numb while I'm loved. Exhausted while needed. Believing that my pain is permanent. So now we need to talk about fear. Fear tells you that you're not enough. Fear tells you that you will lose everything you love. Fear tells you to stop trying because giving up is so much easier. But fear is a liar. Fear is not the truth. Fear is not God. The situation is not the prison. The mindset is. You are not trying to become somebody new. You are remembering who God created you to be before the world hurt you. This is an ongoing battle. There will be days where you will rise and days that you will fall. But the fact is that you're still here means God is not finished. So you can trust him. You protect your mind. You watch for the triggers that try to pull you back. You remember that you are loved even when you can't feel, and you keep going. Now, I want to talk about a state that I haven't talked about yet. We talked about the default state. We talked about the chosen state, but there is a third one. I call it the crash out state. This is the state where we fall even deeper than our default. It is when the emotional weight becomes too heavy and our minds drop us back into the earliest learned behavior. We lash out, we shut down, we get frustrated, we pout, we get defensive, we push people away, we act like children again. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean it literally, because every one of us is just an older version of the child we used to be. But when life hits hard enough, when something touches that deep old wound, that child comes back out to the surface. This is what I call the firmware level, the base programming, the survival behaviors that came built in. It is like looking at the BIOS of your mind, the code that was written long before you had an ability to choose your responses, or what I like to call it, your operating system. When we enter the crash out state, it feels chaotic, but it is not meaningless. Sometimes the system crashes because it cannot run with the old corrupted files. Sometimes the crash is the beginning of the reset. Sometimes hitting that low is what allows us to rebuild honestly, without the mask. I am not saying the crash is healthy or easy. It is painful, it is messy, it is uncomfortable, but sometimes it is necessary, because you cannot heal what you refuse to look at. The crash forces everything to the surface. This is where the real work begins. Not in the calm, not in the high, but right here in the crash, when you are raw, uncovered, and honest. So now we're here. We talked about the default state, the chosen state, the crash out state, and I want to be real about something. I know the chosen state is where I want to live. It is where peace is. It is where clarity is. It is where I feel connected to God. It is where I feel grounded. But I still find myself slipping back into the default. Sometimes I even hit the crash out state. But here is what is changing. I do not stay there as long as I used to. I am learning my triggers. I am learning what knocks me back. And I am learning how to step out of it instead of drowning in it. I am beginning to process instead of avoid. I am learning to forgive others, and forgive myself. Holding on to anger does not protect you. It only poisons you slowly. Forgiving is not saying it was okay. Forgiving is acknowledging that you deserve to heal. And here is something you need to hear. You are not weak for having a default state. You are not broken for slipping back. You are human. We walk the same. We think the same. We hurt the same. We are not as different as we pretend to be. Peace is not a place you arrive at once. Peace is practice. Peace is perception. Peace is choosing how to respond to the world inside you. And you do not have to do it alone. God promises us a peace that passes all understanding. That is not a poetic line. That is something supernatural. And it's the kind of peace that does not make sense. Peace that shows up even when the world has not changed yet. I used to tell myself that it's too late for me, that I lived too much of my life in the default state. And maybe my purpose was just to stay down here so I could protect other people from ever falling this far. And yes, helping others gives me meaning, but I had to learn something important. You deserve peace too. You deserve love too. You deserve to experience your chosen state, not just guide others to theirs. The purpose was never to sacrifice yourself to save someone else. Jesus already did that. Your job is to live in the freedom he paid for. So here is where we end today. You will have days in the default state. You will have moments in the crash out state. But you will also have glimpses of the chosen state. Hold onto those moments. They are not accidents. They are reminders of who you really are. The goal is not to never fall again. The goal is to return to a peace faster each time. To choose persistence. To choose awareness. To choose faith. To choose the you that God created before the world hurt you. I know what God says about me. I know the peace he promises is real. I know I am learning how to believe it, to apply it, to let it sink into the parts of me that have been guarded for years. I am still trying to figure it out day by day, moment by moment. So pray for me as I pray for you. I am still crawling my way back to peace, but I refuse to die in the place that tried to break me. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Sorry this one was a little bit longer than most of them, but this was a really raw one for me. And I hope it really helps somebody out there. I'm constantly battling and fighting with the two sides. And I think a lot of us do that too. I think a lot of us have a hard time letting go of our past and letting go of what we're comfortable with, even though it's uncomfortable. Sometimes peace and order is uncomfortable for a lot of us, but it's okay. It's a process. You're not alone. There's millions of us just like you.